So, my name is Shamarisa. I'm going to be doing my narrative speech on the time I was on a wrestling team and I had my first. So, wrestling, it takes a lot of work. Typically, as a female, it's even harder because it's a male gender sport. When I first joined the wrestling team in high school, I was 15 years old. Being a very hard-headed teenager and a very naive teenager, obviously, it was going to be a lot more tough for me. I was convinced by one of the members on my track team to join. His name was Tyler. And honestly, the only reason why I joined was because he was really cool. I just wanted to learn him. So I thought it'd be cool to join him and join the wrestling team and do that. So I decided to go out for the team. When it first started, I realized I probably had made a big mistake, but I had already paid for this sport. Wrestling was very intense, and it was a lot harder than I thought. I was one of 2 females on the wrestling team. It was an all-males wrestling team. They didn't have any other females in the entire K-12 district, so I was going to be wrestling males. None of the other wrestlers in my weight class were female. They made it very clear that I was not one of them as well. They made it very hard for me. Practice, like I said, it was hard. It was a lot harder than I had ever even expected. I was learning not only how to wrestle, but I had to become a lot more athletic than I had expected to as well. Exercises like up-downs that they do in football, that boys usually complete, running suicide back and forth, repetitive and multiple swings like the boys do in basketball, and also doing hot sprawl drills over and over until we got it right. That was pretty much just one night's practice. So we would spend 2 hours typically just doing the same things over and over again. It all paid off in the end. So the time came around when my first match came about. It was a tournament. It was going to be an all-boys tournament. And all the boys that were wrestling were in my weight class, which was 171. And I was really, really scared. I had on a boys singlet. And as you can see, I'm very well endowed. But again, like I said, the 15-year-old naive teenager Shamarisa didn't think about the fact that I'm a little bit larger than most other females. While I was sitting there anticipating getting into the match and getting it over with, I was really, really nervous. I was sweating beads. And they finally announced that it was time for me to go and wrestle against this guy named Tyler McAkron from Sun Prairie High School. And I will never forget that day because of that. I entered the mat, nervous and shaken. I shook hands with him, and I got into my wrestling stance in the bell ring. Well, I was very athletic. I was moving around the way I was supposed to. I was doing all the dodges and the sprawls and everything that I was supposed to be doing. I kept sprawling every time he was shooting on me. I was gaining a lot more confidence as I kept going. Finally, he shot in on me and I wasn't paying attention. The shot in on me that he did was a head steal, and if you're not paying attention, it's very easy to fall into a trap like that. Well, my back hit the mat like no other, and as I struggled to fight and get myself up from the mat and have my shoulders not be on the mat, I realized that my sports bra that I had underneath my singlet was slowly falling down. As I kept looking down to see if my breasts were falling out of my singlet, he was on top of me smiling and pinning me to the mat. I was so embarrassed that I just laid there, and I heard the referee hit the mat to signal that I had lost. There were 2 valuable lessons that I learned that day, and for the rest of that season. The first, I would have to say, is that I learned that I need to be wearing a t-shirt under my singlet from now on. And the second, that men are a lot stronger than women, and I need to stop being so naive with that. The final and probably the best lesson that I took with me until now is that I should probably pay attention to what people are doing around me, because at the end of the day, it really sucks to win.